Why, hello there friend. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going through a 6-step B2B SEO Masterclass. This is a playbook that we run across all of our clients, and I want to record just a landmark piece of content, a full course, a transparent look into everything that we do to launch premium websites with SEO built in. If you are in marketing and you want to optimize your existing site, or if you're building a site from scratch, this is a perfect video for you because you're going to see every phase of the process. All right, so here is the truth about SEO. It is changing all the time. Google just shipped their May 2026 core update, and it always seems like the best practices from 1 to 2 years ago no longer hold true today. And as marketers, that can be unsettling. But I'm telling you from experience, after launching over 100 websites on Webflow, doing SEO research, building a process from the ground up, the most defensible thing you can do is have a proven process. When you have a process, you have a frame of reference. You can see what's changed, what didn't, and measure one thing at a time. Isolating variables is so important in marketing, and that's why I'm making this course today. So my promise to you is in the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, maybe even over an hour, depending on how long we go, I'm gonna go literally a layer deeper than any other SEO content on here. Like I said, we've built over 100 websites structurally from the ground up. And it's so important to make sure that you're starting from the guiding principles. So there's 6 main phases that I'm going to cover with you guys today. That's going to show you how to do it right. Whether you're starting a brand new website build right now, or if you are optimizing your existing site, this is going to be incredibly valuable for you. Okay, so here's the 6 phases you and I are going to cover. We're going to start with technical SEO. Technical SEO is building your site in a way that makes it easy and appealing for Google to send your buyers to your pages. It really does start from the ground up and making sure that you're abiding by all the small technical changes. I want to take you through running an audit, how we do this into our exact ClickUp workspace, showing you a real live client audit report, how we go in and fix it so you know exactly where to start. Next up is going to be keyword research. What a buzz SEO term, right? This is essentially a process of monitoring competitors, seeing what opportunities our brand has to rank, and doubling down on that content that our buyers want to learn about so that we are seen as the expert source. But again, it starts with finding those opportunities, and we've got a couple tools that I'm going to show you that make that possible. Next up is content architecture. So now that we know the topics we're going to be writing about, we want to present ourselves as an authority and write the content pieces, whether they're blog articles, whether they're persona pages, whether they're service pages, working that into the UX of our website so that the presentation of the information is absolutely seamless. Next up is schema and EEAT. So this goes into our content strategy. Again, how do we write our content? How do we publish pages on our website that present us as the authority and point our buyers to our brand? Then we have content optimization and the Webflow CMS. So we're a Webflow professional partner agency, and we found a way to build a content system using the CMS that makes publishing on brand, consistent, repeatable content reliable and easy. Next up is authority and links. So now that we've done the work on our end, how do we get credible sources to also see us as a thought leader in our industry, get backlinks from other brands? We're going to talk about how we do that and more, all in this video. So grab a coffee, grab a sparkling water, and let's dive into this together, starting at phase 1, technical SEO. All right, so phase 1 we're going to start talking about is technical SEO. What is technical SEO? Well, technical SEO is the underneath the hood of our website. It's reading our page from a code level and seeing all these small, annoying details that make our site unappealing to Google so that we can go in and fix them. The good news about this is that Google does make it easy to present all the annoying issues to us. So in a little bit, we're going to dive into using a tool called Google Lighthouse where you can run your own technical audit. And I'll also show you the other tools that we use that let us go a little bit into depth. But before we do that, I want to lay out the foundation of this course with a really good overarching analogy. So I want you to picture Starbucks. I know that may seem a little bit off brand and out of left field, but I encourage you to hang with me because this analogy has a lot of legs and I'm going to be referencing it throughout all 6 of these phases. So if we picture our brand as Starbucks, SEO is our growth opportunity. Starbucks is famously one of the biggest brands in America and in the entire world because it's famously everywhere. Like it's around every corner, right? That's the impression that we want to create with our website, with our brand. We want to be around every corner on digital. We want to be around on Google. We want to be around on AI search. We want people to stumble across us, to just turn their head and they'll be able to see us. That's why Starbucks is so powerful, and that's the impression you and I are going to create with our brand online if we do this right. But when it comes to technical SEO, we have to make sure the first coffee shop that we build passes all of its inspections and compliance checks. It's got to get those thumbs up to make sure that we have a clear to build, and Google is going to serve up our coffee shop to online caffeine hungry buyers. And I really can't overstate the importance of this. You're going to want to do this. We do this every month for our clients. You can even do it as much as every week if you have a really content heavy site. But doing a technical audit like this is going to be really important if you are publishing more content, because sites just famously bloat. Even if you're working on a really great platform like Webflow, it still can become bloated if you're publishing a lot of content. So always come back to that, perform a technical audit. So the site we're going to be using for our example is a company called Vibrix Pharmacy. This is one of their landing pages. I'll actually go back to their homepage here just for the sake of example. But this is a really nice site we designed a while back. And I'm going to show you guys how to use Google Lighthouse to do a site audit, a technical site audit. So what you can do is you can right click anywhere on the page, go to inspect. Then you're going to want to go to the right arrows over here to the right of the network tab. You're going to hit this drop down that says Lighthouse. You can run a test on both mobile and desktop, and I'm going to start with desktop just because it's the most accessible, and I'm going to hit analyze page load. I'm also on my laptop, so it makes the most sense. And within a few seconds, you're going to start to get a Lighthouse report. It's going to analyze your page. It's going to recache the browser, and you're about to get a lot of good data on how Google sees your site. So boom, just a few seconds later, we already have a performance report. It's going to break it down into 4 different categories. The first one is performance, second is accessibility, third is best practices, and fourth is SEO. And the good thing about Google Lighthouse is that it's actually going to give you a breakdown and literally tell you the changes that you can make. If you are a marketer in-house and you have a technical developer on staff, what you can do is actually export this and give them the changes, whether it's via screenshots, or you can put this into AI and have it list a nice itemized report that you can then send to your developer and get these fixed up. Again, make sure you run this on desktop and mobile, because that's where you're going to get the best results. A lot of times, we are more cognizant. When you're on mobile, scores don't have to be as good. You're going to be taxed a lot more for load time. Load times are always slower on mobile. So if your performance is slower on mobile, don't worry about it too much. But we like to have all of these over 90. Another tool that we use to perform site audits, and one that I'll be showing you guys the inside of here shortly, is a tool called SE Ranking. And what it does is when you load a project in there, it'll actually let you run a site audit and export the results as a PDF. So it makes it a little bit easier to itemize the fixes. What you're going to be wanting to pay attention to if you guys do use SE Ranking is going to the top 3 issues here. A lot of times when it comes to JavaScript errors, that's because of a script. Maybe it's Google Analytics, maybe it's another tracking script or a website visibility script you guys have installed on your website. If that is in the head code of a site, it's going to show up on all pages. And so, for example, we have 32 index pages. It's going to show up as an error on every single one of those. So that's usually what that means. It's usually not a huge deal, but it does a really good job of issuing them based on priority. So errors, warnings, notices, you're going to make sure that you fix those in the same order. So it's going to show you which your pages are indexed and which pages are crawled. And it's going to give you a really nice, easy to read, non-overwhelming report that you can go in and fix right away. The last tool I'll show you guys at this phase is called Google Search Console. If you go to the left tab here, you can just go to the pages and see which pages are indexing, and it'll give you a report on why pages are not indexing. A lot of times, and a surprising amount of times, we'll audit clients' sites to get an SEO strategy in place, and we'll find that the pages that they're trying to rank for aren't even indexed. So it's super important to make sure that after you make site updates, after you make changes, you go here to Google Search Console here on the left tab, you head over to sitemaps, and you just type in your sitemap and resubmit it. Webflow and the Webflow settings does a really good job of auto updating sitemaps, so we don't have to do this manually, but we do it manually when we launch websites, but it'll automatically resubmit them. But if you're not using Webflow, you're using a custom build, like a headless site, headless CMS, and you have like a Next.js or you built with Claude or something like that, make sure you are frequently going to Google Search Console, either resubmitting your sitemap or just checking to see the indexation of the pages. And if they're not indexing, make sure you read the reports right here to get a sense as to why. So most common reasons why pages don't index. One, Google does tax AI generated content and duplicate content. So if you have a lot of like duplicate page templates, it's going to have issues ranking a lot of times. If you're just trying to spam pages for a lot of keywords, we don't find that gets very good results. And these, for other reasons down here, that has different statuses. So 404, meaning it's not indexed at all and it's not even trying to. Page with redirect, if you have DNS settings and you've gone and you've made a redirect change, you can even do this at the management level. So a lot of times our clients use GoDaddy, Hostinger, Cloudflare, things like that for their DNS. There can be some issues in there that we have to go and troubleshoot. Maybe there's duplicate A records. Crawled, discovered, not indexed, and crawled, not currently indexed. Discovered means it has been, it has ranked in Google and it's currently processing it. Crawled means the sitemap has been submitted and it's more likely to index it in the very near future. So you want to get as close to the bottom here as possible. These are kind of in order of how likely they are to be submitted. But again, always recommend going in and resubmitting a sitemap as often as possible. You'll probably notice like, hey, Andy, we're playing by a lot of Google's rules here. It seems like submitting sitemaps, always making sure that Google looks upon our site favorably, that just seems like a lot. I know it can be overwhelming, it can be defeating, but the good news is that Google actually shares what their metrics of site trustworthiness are. So if you go to developers.google.com, I'll drop that link in the description of this video. This left sidebar here will tell you basically everything you need to know. And this is updated with every core update that Google drops, and it gives you everything. It gives you overviews, JavaScript content, how to format that in an appealing way, sitemaps, some of the things we just talked about, robots.txt, LLMs.txt, which we will go into more later. But all this stuff's super important, and it's just a good guide to know how to make Google love your website. Definitely check that out below. All right, next up we have phase 2, and this is the fun part. This is the part that I love, and this is keyword research. Keyword research is how you compare yourself to your competitors and you find opportunities that people search for organically that will lead them to your brand naturally. Okay, so before we get into a process for keyword research, there's a few things that I want us to understand. When our customers are online, when they're searching the web, there's generally 4 main behavior types, 4 main reasons that they have for searching. And I'm going to continue our Starbucks example here just to keep it very elementary and 301. So the 4 types of search intent that we have when people are chatting with their AI or chatting with Google is navigational, informational, commercial, and transactional. Navigational is basically the idea that the person already knows that they want a Starbucks. They're just looking for a specific location. So a B2B SaaS example is they're typing in, they're looking for a direct product. They're looking for Asana. They know they want to buy Asana and they're just looking for a place to get it. Now, if you are a broke college student, you know you want Starbucks and you're just looking for the most nearby location. There's one clear path to get there, and that's all you're going. You wouldn't go anywhere else. Next up, higher up the funnel is this thing that we call informational intent. So informational intent, to the coffee example, would be you've never heard of coffee before, maybe you just recently have, and you're learning what coffee is. You're looking to websites to compare different blends, dark roast, light roast. Where do people provide coffee? What are some of the benefits of caffeine? All these things. So you're at the very high side of the search funnel, and these customers probably aren't ready to convert. Next up, we have commercial intent. Commercial intent is when the buyer is in their deliberation phase. They're comparing your brand versus several other competitors. So as you can see in this image here, there's Caribou Coffee, there's Peace Coffee, Starbucks, The Daily Grind, Common Grounds. I don't even know if those are real coffee places, but this person is deciding between the good old trusty Starbucks and other potential vendors, weighing things like cost, customer support, agency versus freelancer, multiple different options that may be or may not be best fit for their needs. Next one and final one, we have transactional intent. So the user is ready to buy. This is different from navigational intent. Navigational intent is they're looking for our website. Maybe they're not ready to buy. Transactional intent is they're going to our website with the purpose to buy. This is our very hot, warm, bottom of the funnel customer that we are selling to. So now that we understand the types of search behavior and the types of keywords, we want to make sure that we are making content for all of these and making the appropriate content for all of them. As you can imagine, different phases of the buyer journey require different phases of content in order to rank. And that's the philosophy that we take into our keyword research, making sure that we have an appropriate amount of each of these. All right, so next up is the non-sexy, nitty-gritty part of keyword research. I'm going to take you into several different tools here. And the good news is, if you're just getting started, there are some budget options in here for you to use. SE Ranking is our main agency tool, and they also have a free plan that you guys can set up a project with, get your feet wet. But if not, there are always ways to do free keyword research. So I'm going to take you through a few of our most common methods and how we make these into our content and how we validate these, work them into our content, and also judge the effectiveness as to whether or not this is something that we could rank for. All right, first keyword research tool, good old Google. Who knew that you could do keyword research in Google? So obviously we're doing research for Vibrix Pharmacy. So we want to be searching for pharmacy retailers in Utah. This is something that is called a broad match keyword. We're just typing into Google, giving it out a filter, and we misspelled it, but we're going to start to see what comes up and see what Google is presenting to us in order to get some ideas. All right, we're seeing, and this is a good little lesson in terms of what Google presents, just so we can work this into our lesson moving forward. Generally, you're going to see these things called AI overviews. So this is basically an amalgamation that Google's AI puts together of our top first page of results, and it's going to present them up here with direct links. Next up is, because we searched a local query, we're going to appear in maps with some highly ranking vendors right here. We're going to get a people also ask. This is something that you're going to want to pay attention to for additional keyword opportunities. So once you know a broad match term, it all comes down to knowing your customer on a granular level. Once you know what your customers are searching for, you get a really good insight into things that, like, they're also asking here. These are potential keyword opportunities that you could also rank for and potentially capture that customer when they're searching for these things as well. Also, do a little bit of due diligence and bookmark these in our competitors. This spreadsheet right here is something that you and I are going to be referencing a ton throughout this course. Is basically we always make one of these for all of our clients. This is our master spreadsheet list. We go in and we make sure that we have all of our client links right here. We have 3 different phases of our SEO strategy. We put all of our links in, and we have almost 20 tabs in here. And we're going to fill this out live with a keyword master list. But for now, keeping it very simple, just getting a high level search, making sure that you're using a browser like Chrome to go in and see what Google is presenting to us, and just getting a large 10,000 foot view at our broad match terms and seeing what we have a shot to rank for. Now, obviously, there isn't a ton of data that's coming with this, but I just use this to get a pulse check, a feel, before we get into our data tools. The other tried and true free tool is the one and only Google Search Console. So headed back here, if you go back to the left tab and you go to performance, Google is going to tell you from the source what you're already ranking for. So these terms up here, Vibrix, Vibrix Pharmacy, Vibrix Order Tracking, Vibrix Website, these are all what you call brand dimensions. And these are going to, when you first launch a website, these are going to be what you're going to be getting a lot of. So obviously, these are not ideal. When someone is searching your brand name into Google, they're going to be, you're only matching for the first 2 categories of ranking, navigational and transactional, which isn't ideal. You're not going to be capturing a whole lot of organic traffic. You're only going to be reaching people who were predetermined and decided off platform, off of search, that they were going to reach out to your brand. So we want to start ranking for more longer term, high intent queries that aren't in the decision phase. But like I said, if you're optimizing a site or if you're just getting started, the queries and brand mentions are a great place to start. And you can also see the top pages that are listing. Obviously, it's going to be the home page. But like I said, you can also see desktop versus mobile and the search appearance and which pages that they're landing on when people search your website. Third and final free tool to do some keyword research is the one and only Google Ads Keyword Planner. So the way that you can do this is you're going to have to set up a free Google Ads account. I won't go into depth on how to do that. Basically, you just search Google Ads in your local browser, and then you want to I usually just search, because Google Ads, we don't do Google Ads, and it's just a robust platform that I always get lost, which should be reassuring for you guys. I'm a marketer, and I don't like using the Google Ads platform. So if you get lost, you're not alone. But basically, just go into the Google Ads platform, make sure that you create a test or a free account. I have one hooked up to our company. You don't have to run any ads, but it'll take you through a few questions they have to answer first. But I'm just going to go. I'm already here in the keyword planner. Go ahead and when you get into Google Ads, create a test account. Go to just search keyword planner right here. Boom, and it'll be the first thing that pops up. Click it. Then you're going to click this box that says discover new keywords, and then you're going to start to list keywords. What you can also do is, because we have AI and we do use that a lot too, is we can go back here, go to a new chat, and basically use Whisper Phone and say, hey, I'm trying to rank Vibrix Pharmacy within SEO, and I want some broad match keywords that can help, that I may have a potential to rank for. So these are just ideas. I haven't validated these yet, but essentially I want you to give me some ideas for broad match keywords that I can put into Google Keyword Planner and validate the cost per click, ad cost, and see if they're worth pursuing with content down the line. Now, I would highly recommend, we have an SOP in ClickUp where we create a Claude project for each of our clients. So if you can already start a Claude project or whatever AI tool that you use, so where it already has the context on your brand and where you want to rank for things that they sell, specific products, things like that, etc., that's going to be very helpful. And something I kind of skipped over here, which is definitely important, is just doing an at-a-glance audit. Okay, so what is this site missing already? Again, this is kind of a unique situation because we're not building this from the ground up. Obviously, if we were building Vibrix's website from the ground up, we would take into account things like services pages, things that we call the money pages, things that you have a very specific shot at ranking for that match search intent. For Vibrix, those would be medication pages, product pages, again, service pages that we can use to target specific clusters that aren't just broad match. So if you picture our broad match keywords, things that we're putting into Google Keyword Planner, Google Search Console, and just Google Search, those are our broad ranking terms, things that we can target with the homepage. And then keyword clusters would be small groups that are targeted underneath that to capture intent for some of the smaller, more specific, a lot of times longer keyword length phrases. So for example, if the broad match term is pharmacy retailers in Utah, then a specific keyword cluster would be mail order direct-to-consumer pharmacies in Utah. So again, a much more specific segment of that larger keyword strategy. Alrighty, so we are back again using Keyword Planner here in Google Ads. What we're going to do is we just gave Claude a bit more context. Basically just say, hey, this is our website. This is what we're trying to do. Give us some broad match keyword ideas. It's going to scan the FAQ pages, all the pages on the website, and give us some broad match opportunities that we have a chance to go with. Again, you're not going to have a great shot at ranking at these. This is just so we can inform our research process. But Google Ads will give us 10 keywords at a time that we can go in and put. Make sure that you only have 10. Now we're going to go over to Vibrix Pharmacy, copy this domain, paste that in right there to make sure that we're not ranking for the similar terms that we already have here in Search Console. We just don't need repetitive data. And again, these are all brand mentions anyway, so I don't want to waste time on those. Then we're just going to hit get results. All right, now essentially from these ideas, we're looking for a few things. We want a high average monthly search volume. So just looking at general statistics here, we want a keyword that a lot of people are searching, but that can also be a sign that's going to be tough to rank for. And when using a free tool like this, the best heat indicators that we can get in terms of how hard a term is to rank for is this second one right here, this dollar amount, which is called cost per click. Cost per click is basically if we were to run Google Ads for this keyword, this is how much we would have to be paying for each click to that sponsored result in Google. So as you can tell, cost per click is a sign of commercial value. So if Google is charging a lot for it, it means it's very competitive and a lot of people want to rank for that term. Another good thing to keep a look at here is 3-month change. We want something that's going up. Obviously, this is going down, but this is a very seasonal keyword per EMS. Online pharmacy delivery has got a high keyword search volume. And we can toggle these. So by how many that we see based on popularity. It's a pretty good UI for seeing the trends on these things. And this is a good little place to get some ideas. Google Keyword Planner will also recommend some more adjacent terms, kind of like the people also ask section within Google Search. we can get some keyword ideas as well. So what I want you guys to do is, like I said, we have our master spreadsheet here where we keep everything top of mind. And one of the best use cases for AI is, taking data like this, you can dump it in here loosely and then come back to it later to have it help you format. So that's the three-headed strategy with the three free tools that we use: Google Search Console, regular Google search, and good old Google Keyword Planner. Again, if you're doing SEO research on a budget or if you're in-house, definitely start with those as they are tried and true. But if you want to beef up your strategy, I'm going to take you inside SE ranking and show you what we do for every other project. Alrighty, so we are inside SE ranking for Vibrix Pharmacy. What we're going to do is we're going to head over to the research tab now that we are in the Vibrix Pharmacy project. And we're going to go to competitive research tab right here. And we get presented with a few different things. So again, this is kind of like a beefed up version of just going to Google search and using, your sensory feels. But we're going to start with our core domain. I already have it typed in here. Reference the brand name, and this is important to put in because this will help it filter out the brand mentions that we were talking about earlier. Country, domain, and hit analyze. We've already run this a few times, but it's going to give you some high level scores and metrics. Domain trust is essentially a combination score of your backlinks, referring domains, and how much Google trusts your website. Page trust, the individual page that it's ranking for, and those trust levels. It's just going to give you a baseline to work from. Down here in the keyword research tab, this is where we're going to do a lot of our damage. But this, again, is where we're going to drop a broad match keyword. So again, heading back to Claude, we can get a good idea. Just type in mail order pharmacy, keep it nice and broad. And the good news about this is we can actually dump in a lot more to get more data at once. So if you want to start with one within SE ranking, you can. But since I have an agency account and we're going to do it the way that we do it, I'm just going to go ahead and paste all of our keyword ideas from Claude to verify them and paste them in here and go ahead and hit analyze. Now we're getting a lot more better data here and we're getting, heat map signaling in terms of the difficulty. So as you guys could tell with some of the free tools, especially with Google Keyword Planner, we couldn't really get a census in terms, aside from cost per click, as to what our opportunities were to rank for a keyword. Whereas with here, it directly tells us the difficulty based on our competitors and other content online. And the good news is that we can filter for these. We can do highest keyword difficulty to lowest keyword difficulty. And essentially what we're trying to find a really good balance between low keyword difficulty, where you try to shoot for anything in the green, so 40 or below, and a high search volume. So we want easy to rank for and a combination of high search volume right in the middle there. SE ranking also tells you, if you were listening earlier on, it tells us the intent behind the keyword, which can inform the kind of content that we make from it. It has the SERP feature, so it shows you what type of content is ranking for those terms, what type of content is ranking best for those terms. This is a YouTube video. People also ask, like the drop down, and the star is a reviews, so this is where that term was mentioned. What we can start to do is look for the keywords we have an opportunity to rank for that are of high volume. So medication management system, boom. I know for a fact that Vibrix offers that as a service, and it's a great combination of easy to rank for and high search volume. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the plus and we're going to hit the check mark, and we're going to go through and look at some of these that are high search volume with good amount of difficulty. Medication adherence tools, that could be a good blog topic. Senior pharmacy services, that's a good one. Boom. And what you'll see a lot when you use AI for keyword ideas, that's going to be the best use case for AI throughout any SEO efforts that you do. It's best for ideation, and obviously the reformatting that we'll go into in a little bit here with the formatting of the spreadsheets, the tabs, etc. But basically, this is the best system that you have. And what you're going to see with these red terms is that there's not enough search volume for SE ranking or any other AI tool or any other SEO tool, Ahrefs, SEMrush, to even provide data on that as a keyword. If you ever see something like this, it's really not even worth targeting because the search intent is too low, unless you're in a very rare edge case in B2B where it was like one conversion, one very targeted conversion is like, hundreds of thousands of dollars enterprise deals. But that's an edge case. But for 99% of businesses, only try and work into your strategy the ones that have a decent amount of search volume. So after we've clicked a few, we're going to go to add to. We're going to add to project or add to keyword manager list. And then we're going to create a new list. We're going to call this Vibrix. New list. Call this Vibrix. I'm just going to go ahead and add this to project under search engines, Google, general, boom, apply. And basically, we're just going to keep doing that. It's going to be a constant process of going back to our keyword bulk analysis here, mail order pharmacy, analyze. One of my favorite parts of SE ranking is that it gives you keyword ideas that are much better than using AI. So we can go to our view detailed report. And for our broad match keyword phrases, it's going to give us a lot more ideas, and it's not going to give us any non-indexed ones that don't get enough search volume to even have a shot at ranking for. All right, so we're going through and looking at these keywords, and again, keep using AI for volume, and then basically now that we have a source of truth that we can work from and save our keywords to here in SE ranking. I'm just kind of looking at these, trying to get more into the green column here, making sure that we validate our keywords. What you'll see sometimes when you work your way further down the line, the less and less intentional that they get. They're so specific to the point that we don't really want to try and rank for them anyway. So mail order pharmacy on mine, I'll say that's a really direct one. And even though we have a low search volume, that's such a direct term that we have a shot at that I would recommend adding that. Even 10 searches a month is very high conversion. Mail order pharmacies, high search volume, really good. Boom. Mail order specialty pharmacy, another really good one. Best mail order pharmacies for Medicare, boom, awesome. Boom. Express mail order pharmacy, boom, good one. Looking good. Yeah. And each time we go and select, it's going to go and hit use keywords, use in keyword manager list, create new list, Vibrix. Give me 100 more keywords that are a combination of location based and high intent based. Going back to Claude, getting a ton of ideas, copy, paste back into our broad match tool, analyze, filter by difficulty again. Actually, let's filter by search volume. Medication management near me. Good, good. Almost all these are really good. Boom, boom. Add all the ones that have some search intent. Hit add to. Could add to keyword manager list and add to Vibrix. And eventually we're just going to keep adding to that list. We have a frame of reference within our keyword manager tool here. And so I'm just going to keep going back and forth between Claude, Google Keyword Planner, my own ideas, validating these against the criteria of difficulty with search and validating these between low search difficulty and high search volume until we get a list of about 50 to 100. We find that to be about the sweet spot when we're putting together a strategy. It gives us enough to validate each individual keyword and also enough juice to create subgroups under them that we can try and rank for. So I'll fast forward and I'll touch base with you guys once I have between 50 and 100 keywords. I'm telling you guys, it's going to feel repetitive to be going through these lists, but you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the search volume. And a lot of these details are found in the weeds. So I'm telling you guys, stick to it. Dig through here, get as many as you can with a good difficulty and high search volume. I'm telling you that this diligence is going to pay off and you're going to thank yourself. It's also good to have a balance between as many questions and related terms as possible. So for example, let me add these in a keyword manager list here. If I go over to the questions tab, which SE ranking lets us use, we can see how many of the keywords that we've added are actually used in question queries as well. Those are really good to rank for more specific pieces of content that we can add down the line. And I love getting as many of these in here as possible. What are teaching people about our brand. Absolutely love that. Use keywords at the Vibrix. Now I usually try and save this for last, but there's always going to be a lot of really low-hanging fruit on your location-based queries. So for example, pharmacy Utah, we found a ton of really good search match keywords. you're going to see the order of these is important. So when you're in SE ranking or when you're in any search tool, you want to make sure you do broad match or query related, something similar, to making sure that you're not only matching for the exact keyword that you phrase in here, or else you're not going to get any good suggestions like this. You're just going to be locked in on the one. But I try and save this for last because we're always going to get a lot of really good squeeze about searching for subsidiary cities. Pharmacy Park City. We're based in Linden, so I'll definitely search that up next. Boom. Utah Board of Pharmacy, that's a good one. Compound Pharmacy, Utah. Pharmacies in. Compounding Pharmacy in Utah. Add all these to the list. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes or so, and I have been in the weeds here in SE ranking. And now I'm going to go to our keyword manager tab right here, to our saved list, because I've got about 50 and I've got enough to go in and make some keyword groups from. And this is where now that we've done the research, we have verified keywords with verified search volumes. Again, having a platform like this is really helpful to know which ones you are actually worth your time in terms of ranking for. But we have a nice little list to work with. And now we have a really good opportunity to use AI to help us not just create keyword groups and clusters, but also content ideas from each of these. So SE Ranking has a platform natively that is helpful for helping us do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the easy route here. Boom. I'm going to put it back into our Claude project that's dedicated for this client. Paste it in non-formatted. I'm going to say, hey, okay, so I've pasted in some verified keyword searches that we're going to start with. This is our starting list that we're going to work from. What I want you to do, format this into a list similar to the screenshot that I give you here. That will allow me to copy paste all the information into it, and also start ideating on some keyword clusters based on related topics. Give me 4 to 5 related keyword clusters, and group the keywords together based on which are closest in category. I'm going to give it our spreadsheet template here, copy it, paste it in. I'm going to make sure I'm using a higher leverage model here. So I'll go Opus 4.7 and then hit enter. Alrighty, now that we have all of our keywords put into Claude, it's going to format it according to the spreadsheet that we put in. And it's going to it's going to categorize them by our local keywords. It's going to put them in that category. Near me keywords, mail order education, so then feeding into our content strategy, process and FAQs, answering our users' questions, and also competitors, which is going to be really big for our AI search efforts. But for now, what we're going to do is, so we have a central place for all of these. We want to copy paste all the information and hit copy. Boom. Let's see, go back to keyword and paste and delete the top row here. Double click and format as so. It's also going to be very proactive in grouping, calling out. So as you can see, the ones that we use for the ones that we found in Google Keyword Planner, it put in the cost per click as well, which is helpful, but it's not always going to correlate one-to-one with the search difficulty. So we'll mostly rely on the search difficulty, trying to target low search difficulty, high search volume, but again, giving us our bread and butter keywords here at the top and different clusters that we can then categorize different content under. So now that we have a central source of truth, we can always copy paste this and ask AI questions. So which of these should we write a blog post about this week? What type of content? Listicle, blog post, informational, competitor page, product page, anything like that, that would be the optimal form of execution for that keyword to rank for best. Now, throughout the process of keyword research, something I kind of glazed over is finding competitors. Now, you might have noticed throughout a lot of that keyword search process, we are coming across other brand mentions, Costco, Ridgeway, Express Scripts. But the best competitors that we can use are ones that provide similar products and services to us and are ranking for terms that we want to rank for. They don't have to be geographically close to us, and this goes into our competitor research. Again, not going all the way in depth on this. We always keep a competitor page in our spreadsheet here with competitors that are always appearing in the queries that we want. Going back to our initial kind of search litmus test, these could be brands that you see pop up when you're just doing a lightweight search. So we searched pharmacy Utah. Any of these brands right here could be our competitors. So Smith's Food and Drug, Utah Pharmacy Association, pharmacies in Utah. High Creek Pharmacy is another one right there. Again, these are the ones that as you're doing the keyword research process, keeping a list in here of brands that are coming up consistently for the terms that we're trying to rank for. So I always do a bit of a vibe check with this. What you can do, and what we often do as well, is we run a gap analysis. So we can go to competitive research here. We can actually input several of our competitors, go to the competitor comparison tab and enter these competitor domains in there. Ridgeway, boom, Express Scripts, boom, hit compare. What we're going to see here is this nice little visualization as to who has the most share of voice. So as you guys can tell, this is color coded. Obviously, as we're getting our keyword strategy in place, where we have a very small relative percentage share of voice, mostly dominated by Express Scripts here. But I'm going to make another video, and this chart is going to look very, very different. But we can see the keyword opportunities that we have, the ones that we're missing from our competitors, illustrated in here. The unique ones, meaning the ones that we have that they don't, and the common ones, meaning the ones that we are both ranking for. So these are the ones that we want to prioritize. Again, these will be really good ones to add. Again, obviously not the location-based ones, so the ones that aren't near us, but some more broad match terms like this: online chemist, Viagra, Safeway Pharmacy, Wegovy, online order. It's a good place to get a few ideas and add those to our list. Okay, so we've already gotten into this a little bit, but next up is phase 3. This is what we call content architecture. This is kind of what we did earlier. We have our initial keyword list. We have all the terms we could possibly rank for. Now we start the process of whittling down the wood to not just the individual content clusters and groups that we can use to write our content, but also get a pulse check in terms of what our biggest opportunities are, what we're going to be able to rank for. So again, going back to our source of truth, our spreadsheet, we have our keyword master list. We have our 5 different clusters that we can use to write content with. Now that we have everything loaded into our Claude project, we can literally ask, hey, okay, we're getting ready to write some content for our keyword clusters. After you scan the sitemap for vibrexpharmacy.com, you can see our competitor gaps. What would be our highest leverage pages that we could go in and target with these keywords? So while that runs, this is kind of where the combination of knowing your clients very well becomes very helpful. So now that we know the exact services that Vibrex offers, those are going to be the highest leverage activities that we can do. Those are called money pages, service product pages, things that are very easy to match for search intent. Those are going to be our highest leverage activities, and those are going to be the first pages that we implement. While that query is running, I want to go through some of the other things that we covered in our audit. So we always include all of the index pages within our site report. We always go in and do meta title optimization. This is possible to do before keyword research because basically there's a lot of cleanup. As you can see on their existing site, they only had a couple optimized page titles. They have a CMS with their team members, so all those page titles are the same. We want to change those to have more brand dimensions in them. And yeah, we take all the existing page titles and we add another field to then go in and optimize all of these. And they usually follow a similar pattern, but basically what we want to do is include at least one brand mention in them and be descriptive as to what the content on the page is. Google loves that. Meta description optimization. So again, pulling all of our pages, having one field for the existing meta descriptions and how we could optimize that. For the ones that we just need to continue on the same format, we just add to be continued. And yeah, now that Claude is finished, it's going to give a overview of our current sitemap, and it's also going to give our highest leverage page activities. So like you said here, a location page, Salt Lake City Pharmacy, mail order pharmacy pillar page, Medicare mail order pharmacy pillar page, really good ideas. It's also going to recommend doing medication management pages. So these are specific medications that we can, building pages around specific medications that we offer to try and rank for some of the existing medication keywords that we already added to the list. More location page suggestions, and expanding an FAQ. And one of the things I did notice on our site, just doing the initial audit, was that they have an FAQ and all their FAQs live on one page. A really high leverage activity for us would be to go in and put these FAQs on relevant pages and inject FAQ schema into those pages, which leads us into our next phase, schema and content drafting. Okay, so phase 4, as I alluded to, is called schema and EEAT. Now, this may sound like some kind of robotic words, and if you've never done SEO before, these are probably two alien terms to you, but let's keep it 301. Let's break it down. So schema markup is visualized like this. Basically, schema markup is code that you put onto your page that accurately distills to screen readers, AI bots. It's basically code that explains what your company is and the value you offer. It puts everything in a very segmented list, and there's a very specific format that you have to follow in order for it to be validated. We use a tool called schema.org, and that's basically the industry standard. Recommend you use it as well. And you can use AI to help you create the first draft of schema. After scanning your web pages, now AI has made helpful recommendations for the pages that we're trying to rank for. It knows about our company. Again, keeping it very isolated within one project is going to be very helpful. It can take this information, all these keywords that we've been researching, the context about the brand that we started when we uploaded our information to the cloud project, and give us segmented information that we put on each page. Within Webflow here, I have the Vibrix Pharmacy site pulled up. We go to page, we go to page settings. We're going to go all the way down here, and Webflow actually lets you customize per page schema within this interface. So you can actually generate a first draft within AI here on the home page using their generator for JSON LD schema. And then we're actually going to take it over to schema.org, and we're going to validate it. So if you go to schema.org, this top left tab where you go to validate, you're going to go to code snippet tab right here. You're going to go to what Webflow generates after it's finished, and boom, like a minute and a half later, it's basically going to take the content, the HTML of the page that you're on. It's going to give us a first pass at it, but it doesn't validate schema as it warns you. So we're going to copy this and paste it into our helpful schema validator tool at schema.org. Boom, code snippet, paste, run test. And if you have anything incorrect, it actually did a great job. If it has anything incorrect, it's going to give you errors and warnings, and we usually have to run a few passes at that. But essentially, here's the scanning of it. It gives you the company address, the postal address, things like that. Tells item offered, services, name. And you can go in and add this as we go in and add service pages. It's good to have this live, and obviously we can go in and adjust this. But that's why it's so important to have dynamic schema markup, is because when you add new service pages, you have to go in and add it to the per page schema. And it's really hard to do that dynamically. So it'll list things like employees, reviews. It pulled that from the testimonial section. Nice. So now that that's validated, we're going to do that on every single page. Again, I'm not going to do that for the sake of time in this video, but we're going to hit save and reindex. Also, part of our technical audit is Webflow has a site-wide site audit, which takes a lot of the same recommendations as within Google Lighthouse and itemizes them within here. The other part of this chapter, content planning and EEAT. Now that we have our master brand guide, our keyword master list, we know all the potential topics that we can cover. And what we want to do is position ourselves as a trustworthy authority across all of these keyword clusters. So when it comes to content as a whole, our philosophy is, again, you've probably heard EEAT online. I'm not a huge fan of the acronym. It just sounds like EAT to me, which is how people say it. But essentially breaking these down one by one. Expertise. So you want your viewers to understand or experience, you want your readers to know that you have hands-on familiarity with the subject that you are experiencing. They want to see our team members in the case of Vibrix. They want to see that we have done this and that we have team members with experience. That's why if you are doing this for your own website or your client's site, showing years of experience, having your actual team members be the authors on blog posts shows that experience, really helpful. Next up is expertise, demonstrated skill, knowledge, qualifications in your field. It's an example of Vibrix. On their team members, we list their certifications, showing that they have proven experience, time in the field. Very, very important. Again, having all of their, chief product growth officer, CPHT, PharmD, Gabrielle, PharmD, really good, authoritative, trustworthy signals that make people trust our content. Next up is authoritativeness, recognized as a trusted leader or authority on the topic. A lot of this stuff is self-selecting. So the more content we write, the more niche we get on those keywords. We're going to show that we have a depth of experience in the industry, which is why it's always important to avoid bland content. Next up is trustworthiness. This is the most important part. Things like testimonials, linking back to third-party sources. Testimonials should always be easy to read, scannable, and from high value sources. So in Vibrix's case, obviously patients are going to be a big one. Authoritative providers in their field that use our products, that can vouch for our leadership, very, very important. Again, backed by credible sources. So if we look into our making blog content about our flex points with just script certification, URAC, NABP accredited, those should make their way into our content strategy as well, because they are very strong signals of the key parts of EEAT that we can speak to. All right, so next up, we're going to go into actual content writing. We've done enough research at this point while filming this video. It's about 2 hours in. How do we actually take all this information and write actual content? First of all, for the sake of time in this video, I'm not going to go in and build out all the page recommendations that Claude has given us. But assuming that the website has all the core pages, again, start with those money pages, start with optimizing your existing pages around those keyword clusters. Again, Claude and AI is very helpful and proactive in making recommendations for the pages that you need to cover. But when it comes to a blog writing and content writing strategy, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to research. We're going to go to our keyword manager. We're going to click into our list, and we're going to reference our existing list and group these by category. So we're going to start with how about we start with our process FAQ? Actually, no, let's start at the top based on search volume. So we're going to go with all of our geographically based informational keywords. We're going to go back into SE ranking, and we're going to select those. Now that we have all of our geographic ranking terms within SE ranking, we're going to hit add to. We're going to hit add to content article. And we're going to say no articles found. So we're going to go ahead and create a new article. Now it's going to generate a nice little interface where we can draft content that we can use to rank for these terms. What it's going to do a great job of is going to take us to this interface where it's going to show us other locally ranking competitors. It's going to define our content parameters. So we're going to know before we even start writing the exact specs of what's going to rank best based on our competitors' already written articles. It's going to make recommendations for which of our keywords should be our primary keyword and where we should include that. So our primary keywords we're going to want to have in our heading structures, page titles, meta descriptions, those key places that AI and search both pull from. It's going to give us, we're going to use the AI writer to generate a heading structure as well. And the good thing is we can actually open these competitor pages in separate tabs. It's going to tell us how high ranking each of them are. I love that. And boom, I'm going to go ahead and go start writing. Now, what I'll always do is generate an article with an AI writer, and it's going to give us a content score here on the right. I would always reference our brand guidelines before we generate a first draft of this stuff. I tend, for more regulated industries like healthcare, I always tend to err on less creative, but we can always add in more things afterwards. Details to include. This is the key format right here, where you can really get into the personalization. We have multiple staff members on our team with multiple accreditations, and these are our certifications. We are NABP certified. We are Legit Script certified, NABP. Boom. So we can really tell it to focus on our certifications and expertise. Again, the E part of our EEAT strategy. And we're going to go continue with Wizard. Now it's going to let us select a topic. Utah Pharmacy Spotlight to cover Scott Pharmacy. I like Go-To Guide. That would be really good AI fuel. Anything that is going to compare us and mention us with competitors or other highly ranking sources in our space is going to be really great fuel for AI. I like generating a healthcare centric focus in there. It's going to give us a bunch of H1s, H2s, and H3s. Make sure you look all of these over and constantly be referencing them back with our keyword master list. Can't stress the importance of that because the SE ranking content editor only allows you to upload one keyword or one small keyword group. It's not going to be as good as citing these within those. So make sure you fact check it and add all the individual ones you want in there. For the sake of time, I'm going to hit continue with Wizard. I'm going to go through and select the headings that I think are most matched to our brand. I don't think it's very important to include information about 24-hour pharmacies. Overviews, that's a good thing to add. Questions to ask your pharmacist. Boom, I love that. Okay, so now we have a good sense of not just the keywords that we're putting in, but also the way we're going to semantically organize those. Okay, so now AI has generated our official first draft here. It's going to give us a score. Now, it's going to give us some parameters and guidelines. The max that it's going to let us rank for here is 78. So what we need to do is basically go in and trim the fat off of this article so that it aligns better and ranks within those guidelines. As you can see, it's going to make recommended changes here. We have really good heading structure. Obviously, the content is way too long because we were a little bit ambitious with choosing the amount of headings that we had in there, which is good. It's always better to trim down rather than be struggling to add more things. So I'm going to go through this article and kind of trim down, making sure we keep a proper heading structure and really just trim down the fat on the amount of paragraphs that are in this as a whole, because we don't need this much content. Okay, so I think I've trimmed down the fat on this one good enough. We got to about 73 out of 78. I'm okay with that. We have all of our keywords, a really good heading structure, and I'm happy with that. So now that we are done editing that, the only thing it is a little bit too long, which I'm okay with. I'd rather it be too long than too short. Next up, we are going to head over to export. We can either export the article or we can copy it. Now we're going to copy it, and branching into our SOP with the Webflow CMS, we have our article optimized, or we have our CMS already built infrastructurally. So we're going to go to the articles portion. We're going to go to new article. We're going to make sure that we paste in the content because we have that on our clipboard right now. We're going to take out this and boom, put that in to the title because this will be formatted as the H1. Or what we're also going to do is we're going to continually reference Claude. And by the way, something we've already done is we've put into Claude, you can use a custom connector. I'm not going to do it again here for the sake of time. You can go to connectors, you can go to Google Drive, and you can actually give it the link of your master keyword sheet if you have one. You're going to put it in there. And yeah, so now I'm going to put in our keyword. I'm going to ask it for the semantic information. So I'm going to say, hey, this is the article we're trying to rank for local search. Reference our master keyword database. Give me a page title, URL, structure, and meta description that would best help this page rank for the keywords in the article. Also, go ahead and connect third-party links where it makes sense as in-text links so that I can copy-paste this back into the Webflow CMS. Alrighty, now when it comes to optimizing the existing parts of our site, we want to make sure that it's well categorized. This way we can start to get some interlinking. So this would be best suited for wellness and pharmacy. Make sure it has our keyword in there. Post summary, I usually just take the first paragraph here. This is what appears on the blog cards throughout the site. Main image, always recommend using a team image or something that's on brand rather than an AI generated image here. That's just my personal insight. So I'm going to drag in a team image here. Also make sure that these images are compressed. So boom, good information. And boom, all that stuff. Obviously I would go in and connect all these links, but again, for the sake of time, I'm going to keep chugging right along. And then from there, I would just go publish, and then that will appear live. Obviously, going back to what we did in the start of the video, making sure that this page gets indexed. We can see the direct URL right here. Best Utah pharmacies, great URL structure there. And that will start to appear on the live website. So there we go. Congratulations. You just done keyword research optimization, and you've built a killer piece of content that is going to rank your brand in search. Now, the last phase of this checklist, chapter number 6, is authority and link building. And this one is last because it actually takes the longest, and it's what's going to grow your site the most over time. Earlier on in this tutorial, I showed you the domain authority score that SE Ranking gave us on our site audit. This is what plays the biggest effort in growing that site. So there's a few things that I'll give you a behind the hood look at in terms of our process. So we always create a field here in our spreadsheet for relevant authority topics in our space that we could potentially guest write for. Now we haven't finished this full report yet, but these are all health related slash Medicare slash pharmacy related thought leaders who we will do email outreach to get guest postings, blog postings, etc. down the site or down the line with our site. And we're always keeping them on our radar, always creating a dedicated email. We create a company email for them, say, hey, we saw that you're currently writing about this topic. Do you mind if we contribute and feature us as a blog post? Now, also, there's a lot of agencies will pay to do this, and that is potentially a strategy based on our clients' budgets. But we want to be very rigorous on making sure that we have really good sources. So we have pharmacy resources online, and these are directly to the Write For Us pages on their website. So me or a member of our team will go in and make sure that we can get at least one blog post, guest post per month based on the strategy that can change. But the more backlinks that we have, the more trusted sources that we have pointing to our domain, vibrexpharmacy.com online, that's going to be very good for getting the rest of our pages to rank. If Google sees our homepage, sees our core domain as trustworthy, it's going to be much more diligent on sending traffic our way. It's going to make all of our underlying efforts more effective over time. Another part of optimization and growing our website over time is local citations. So back to the point of authority, we have a lot of local business directories that we've done research on that we would be value additive and places where we want to show up. And in AI search as well, we're seeing a lot of queries that are pulling from these directives. Things like Capterra, G2, Trustpilot, third-party independent sources are a big fuel for AI. So we want to make sure that we're appearing as many places as we can. The lesson here, the takeaway is establish a cadence with your team, with your client, factoring in all these things. We recommend posting at least one blog post per week. Again, always reference that master keyword list. Keep that stored in a place like SE Ranking. And if you're not using a paid tool, keep it in a spreadsheet like we do. It's easy to come back to time after time, add another field that shows that you have already hit that keyword cluster, that you can come back to it, and just do some general third-party listening. I think a really undervalued thing that not a lot of SEOs, not a lot of agencies are doing is they focus too much on the data. They focus too much on the spreadsheet. Get out there and ask your customers, like, hey, how can we help you? What questions can we answer? And build a genuinely helpful blog post and build a genuinely helpful service product page based on what your customers are actually asking. Data is obviously very important, but the strongest signal is actually getting on the phone with your customers and answering their questions directly. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. So that was everything. That was a live, over the shoulder look of how we do SEO for our clients. Starting at phase 1, technical audit, making a site that Google loves, all the way to phase 6, reaching out to other independent sources, building credibility, and establishing ourselves as thought leaders in our space. Rinse and repeat this process, guys. I'm telling you, refresh that keyword list, always be doing research, always be doing outreach, and always be listening to your customers to see what questions that they actually want asked. Growing your website's authority and becoming a leader in your space is not always about the keyword metrics. It's not always about the research. It's about being consistent over time. And I know that's like what nobody wants to hear, but this is just a look at everything that goes into it that we do for our clients. And I hope this was helpful and valuable to you. And to the broader topic of SEO, it will always keep changing. But a combination of being in the data and asking questions to your customers, keeping a pulse, while of course doing a healthy amount of keeping in touch with the Google updates, looking at their developer platform, and staying in touch with them on social media, we can keep steering our compass in the direction where search is headed while also not neglecting our customers in the process. So that is the entire course. I hope you guys enjoyed all 6 parts of this. If you did, shoot me an email, drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe if you found this valuable, and I'll see you guys next time.